Hello, everyone. It is Kenyon here. It is Basketball Rewind, and we are here for another week to talk about hoops. Another, I guess, episode, if you will. Going to be doing more lives here and there, so bear with us, folks. We're getting better and better at this, and gonna try to get more and more consistent as we veer into the playoffs. I am joined today by Coach Roach. Definitely check his channel out. So he has definitely started a channel. We're going to be kind of meandering today about a few different topics. Coach, you're doing well?
Doing well. Raptors win last night. It was definitely needed after the embarrassing loss to Sacramento the other night. Yeah.
Yes, it was. It's been a
Not much to
interesting.
say.
Yeah, it's been an interesting week in Raptors land. The Raptors, of course, beat the Memphis Grizzlies. I did not bother doing a live for that, but they beat the Memphis Grizzlies 128-96. I really don't think that there's much that needs to be covered from the standpoint of looking and dissecting that game. Do you have any thoughts on that game overall?
No, not really. I think, honestly, if I saw a little bit of the game, I didn't see the whole thing. If I remember correctly, RJ had a decent game. He had to get 25. He had 25 points, 4 threes. Murray Boyles played well off the bench with
He did.
19 points. Scotty with his 10 points.
Yeah.
I know it's Memphis, but we need to see a bit more from him, quite honestly.
Yeah, I mean, he had 6 assists, which is nice, but he also had 5 turnovers. Are you at all worried about that side of things? I have some thoughts about that, so we can kind of glean that out from it.
Are we kind of building on should he be the point guard of this team?
Yeah, I mean,
Hmm.
I guess we could just start there. Yeah, that's one way to approach it. So the way that I look at it is Scotty is someone like we've been so talentless at the point guard position in terms of someone who can really truly man the point in the proper way. It's not a slight against Emmanuel Quickly. Emmanuel Quickly has guard skills, but not the point guard skills that you want for a top tier point guard on a consistent basis.
Yeah. Look, I know they're going to keep trying to play Scotty at point, but they also don't have much of a choice. Like I'm sorry, Jamal Shed doesn't do much for you offensively. He gives you almost next to nothing. He works hard. He gives you pretty good defense, but on switches,
Yeah.
it's not good, especially when you get a mismatch at the post or even on the wing if you have a bigger forward. And now they have to basically play Scotty at point. Scotty in transition is fine. It's the half court that's a little bit of him, but it's also a little bit of the team because half court wise, we're just not that good executing half court offense. But yeah, I just don't think this team is really set up for him to play point guard. Like if I'm creating a team of what's the ideal for Scotty if he's playing point guard, like it's shooters everywhere. It's shooters and rim protection and one guy who could play point of attack. I can't have him play point guard, run the offense, and then play point of attack, and then have him protect the rim. That would just be silly. He can play point guard for sure, and he might even have to guard the best player on the other team, but I cannot have him play POA. No way.
No, I mean, even in the Memphis game, just as a quick recap, like they started off and they were kind of stuck in the mud, so to speak. And it was interesting because, of course, they're stuck in the mud. They're struggling to kind of get their offense kind of going here. And what was interesting about it is that Darko, I think it was in the second half, or actually, no, not even quite that. I would say even in the second quarter, where Darko kind of, blew the whistle and said, okay, we got to win this kind of a thing. And they started playing 94 feet of defense.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, this is a little bit desperate. That's what I was thinking. I'm like, it's Memphis. And to get control of the game, you have to guard 94 feet with CMB guarding your point of attack defender.
Mm-hmm.
He did a really good job. I know that some people were giving him a hard time because, he doesn't finish certain shots. And I agree. But he was still 7 of 10. The game
Yep.
before, he was very efficient, and he's doing everything that he can and everything that he's tasked to. So I think we should dispel the notion of people of critiquing him a little bit. He is a rookie. I know he wasn't everyone's favorite, but he is doing one heck of a job, and I think he's showing himself to be a really, uh, basically a winning player.
Look, he always plays above his size. I know the three of us has somewhat discussed this, and yeah, he wasn't my pick at the time.
Mhm.
My critique with the selection to him wasn't him the player.
Yep.
I know what he is. I know he. I remember we had talked about this before the season started. How he might be the best defensive player on the team come the All Star break. Now, obviously, that's Scotty, but he's number two, and I don't think it's close. Like it's 1 in 1A. CMB, he really moves his feet well. He's a very good athlete too. He's not for
Yeah.
his size too. Like he's kind of a stockier guy, but to still be able to rim protect at like 6'6", that's pretty good. But his offense just needs to come a little bit more, and I'm sure it will come with time.
Yeah, I mean and it will, right? Especially at the NBA level. I do think that they need to find certain sets for him, and it's not just about him popping the three.
Yep.
They need to find certain pet plays that he is comfortable with, um, that aren't just dump off and type passes or hitting him as a cutter. You want to kind of see, can he create a little bit for himself? I think he can create for others in the sense that he can capitalize. I think he's a decent. He's shown playmaking upside, is what I'll say.
Yep.
So now you wanted to see what does the full package look like, and that's going to be a question moving forward. It's kind of hard to answer that going into this stretch of the season, but I think next season, regardless of who's coaching the team, that's a question that I want answered.
Yeah.
So yeah, the other thing, Jacoby has kind of cooled off a little bit. He
Yeah.
was on a little bit of a hot streak, and he struggled a little bit more against Memphis. He did have some tough buckets, but he ended up with 2 of 9. Not really great, and he's kind of struggled as of late. So, any quick thoughts on that before we keep it moving? And
Yeah,
we can look at this thing ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, he had he played well against the Pelicans at home. That mind you, the Pelicans had a bunch of injuries that game. Played fine against
Yeah.
Orlando, and then after that, he's got 3 threes in 3 games, and he was on fire for a bit shooting the three. This team needs him to make threes because we don't really have a lot of 3-point shooters. Grady has been basically non-existent, almost like he's forgotten how to make threes, and that's going to be tough. Scotty's under 30%, but that's been consistent for most of his career so far. We just don't have a lot of high volume 3-point shooters. I think maybe Quickly would be your best one in terms of volume shooting, but he's hurt. This team has to find some guys who can throw up some volume threes, just because if you don't, then you're just playing the mid-range, the game. You're playing at the paint all the time. You can score in there, but last time I checked, threes are worth more than twos. And I'm not saying they have to throw up threes every time down the floor, but you need threats who can at least do that. And Jacoby's got to bring that a little bit more. I don't know if they have to just run more sets for him, but yeah, they need more volume 3-point shooting.
Yeah, so I think that's I don't know if he can get that for you to the level that you need. We'll see. There's definitely ways to develop him, but at the end of the day, I mean, this is why we discuss the need for talent, and I think also this is why you discuss the need for a focus on the development of said talent. So it's something to take away from this.
Hey, you and I are getting some heat on that on Twitter sometime. Maybe more so me. I don't know. But
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Saying what?
Yeah. Yes, because I think this team needs more talent. You get a deep draft.
Right.
There can be a difference in talent between 14 and 18 or 13 and 18. Obviously in the short term, you want this team to make the top 5 or top 6 in the playoffs. But when you lose to Sacramento to Precious Achua and one starter in DeMar DeRozan, and you lost to the Pelicans in New Orleans.
So I think people, this is the argument that I've heard, is that you are not satisfied with the season, ergo you are wanting a higher draft pick. The way
Yeah.
that I would say it is, it doesn't matter whether I'm satisfied with the season or not. Instead, I think the more important thing is, did I come into the season, and even after I've come into the season and watch it, do I feel like the talent is good enough to compete next year? If the answer is no, then you should want another draft pick. If the answer is, if the answer is that yes, you want the pick, fine. If the answer is no, you don't want it. The real question then is, how are you going to improve the talent of this team? And it's really, for example, I was chatting with an Australian friend of mine on Twitter the other day, and he's always asking me, what about this trade or what about that trade? A lot of his trades are to kind of like laterally try to get better. My problem with it is like, okay, so you trade, say it's an RJ trade, and he was talking about getting like KCP in like a second or something like that. Like it's like that's not really doing much for you.
Mm-hmm.
You might as well at that point keep things. Um, Hold on one second. Blackhawk, welcome. Uh, Blackhawk says this team can't statistically fall to 13, 14, and 15 because of the match. Actually, Blackhawk, the second that you are out of the playoffs officially, say they're in the play-in and they don't make the playoffs, they would automatically, at worst case, be on that 14th spot. So that's how it would go. But if they make the playoffs, you're right, they would not be able to be in that 13. So basically, to get into the lottery, which starts at 14 and up, you have to miss the playoffs. Now the real question is, now I'm fairly certain I know where Blackhawk stands on this, but do people see them making the it through the play in against teams like Charlotte, for example? Because that could be your first game that you're matching up against, and the second game could be the Heat. It's possible. It's not guaranteed.
Yeah, I mean, Charlotte has thrown such a wrinkle into this whole playoff picture. They're the last team I'd want to play outside of the top 4 or 5 teams in the East. Charlotte's next. I don't want to play them. My mindset is I want to get in the playoffs. I want to try to win, get to the second round. They're the last team I want to play. The Charlotte Hornets. They're playing with house money right now. They're young. They have no expectations almost. And what a dangerous team they're going to be. Khan was a great pick for them, and I have to, even though I wasn't too big of a fan of maybe the number he was selected at, like 3 or 4.
Yeah,
I was wrong on that. He's a great fit next to LaMelo and Brandon Miller. Not that I thought he was going to be a terrible fit. I wasn't sure how his game would translate to the NBA from college. That was a mystery to me.
So the Hornets are one game behind us in terms of the win column. They're 2 games in the loss column. The Raptors next week is going to be interesting, though. We're in the last 5 games of the season. So as of the filming of this, we have the Celtics, back-to-back Heat, Knicks, and then I do assume that they will pick up 1 win against the Nets. That might be the only win that they get this week. You have to really split the. You will have to split the Nets game, or sorry, the Heat game. Now, I agree with Blackhawk. He said we could definitely win the 8th seed if we're in the play-in. So if he's talking about, say, Charlotte would be the 7, we would be playing at home in Charlotte. I do think that Charlotte is a beatable team, but they have not played Charlotte well. There's a reason why they have as soon as we tie them, we would automatically get bumped down to 8 because they have the tiebreaker. So that's what I would say with that.
Yeah, and that's a game though, and it's going to be for the remaining games moving forward as well. But this is why I know a lot of people don't like Quickly. I think it's the contract mainly people don't like, and maybe some of the point guard play. I totally get that, but he's got one skill set that nobody else on the team has, and that is the volume 3-point shooting at around 40%. You're going to need that if you're going to try to make any noise in terms of whether you're in the play-in or you make the top 6, you're going to need that.
And he's in a boot right now.
And he's in, the plantar fasciitis, which is, I know a little bit about it. I don't know much about
It's
it, but
very
I'm guessing,
painful.
I mean, you need your feet to run playing this game of basketball. So
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah,
that
it's
it's that one skill set that not many we don't really have. Sorry, my bad.
no. I was just gonna say it's extremely painful. He is in a boot, so he's not ready to play, and I wouldn't expect him to play for the next. I think when it was announced, it was like 3 to 4 weeks. So
Yeah.
he might not play until the end of the season. We'll see. If that happens, it will be interesting to see what comes next after that. I would say, regardless of him being able to play, it's like we've had a tendency where people will underestimate their opponent. We should not be underestimating our opponents, especially when we've lost to the Wizards and the Sacramento Kings, and badly.
Lost Brooklyn earlier in the year too.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
And in terms of one point guard away from making Quickly our shooting guard, I agree that I don't know if I want Quickly to be our number one shooting guard though, either, because he has limitations. He's very, very undersized for the shooting guard position for a full time, and depending on the size of your point guard, if your point guard's Shea, okay. If your point guard's not Shea, things get a little bit dicier, and you could be outmuscled and outsized. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think I kind of get what Blackhawk is saying a little bit as well.
Mhm.
I think more people want Scotty to be point guard and Quickly to play off guard. But here's the problem. They've played 70 plus games with Quickly as the point guard. And to make that adjustment right now for Quickly to make,
Yeah.
I just don't see that being feasible. I think whenever he comes back, he's going to be point guard. And then Scotty will go back to his regular role that he had before.
You're also still going to struggle in the half court, which is what we're seeing in open court, and when you have to swing the ball around. It's great, but there's going to be moments where Scotty's going to defer, we'll say, and when that happens, when Scotty has the equivalent of a Devin Carter, but better in the playoffs, and he's passing it up with an open driving lane or whatever, almost doing Ben Simmons style things, that's going to be a problem. And so, like essentially, without going all the way through the whole Quickly RJ, all that, I think that there's several guys that are playing out of position, and that includes Scotty, who probably should be more of a power forward style player. It includes Brandon Ingram as well, who should be more of your small forward style player.
Yeah. If Scotty was a better shooter, you might be able to get away with playing him at the 3. You can't at under 30% from 3. This is just me, but that's a position where you have to at least be shooting 35% from 3. That's just the bare minimum. With some volume. And I like Scotty when he's just playing at the 4. Sorry.
No. I was gonna just add to your point. Say you can make it work as the 1 temporarily or in spurts for sure. If he shot the 3 better and had a faster release. The challenge is that if he does not have that faster release, and the percentages aren't quite there, you then have the challenge of, is his handle there, because the speed isn't always going to be there, and is the aggression there? Because then it's kind of, in a way, you're hiding his weak spot, because at least he has the ball, so you do have to pay attention to him. But if he's not going to be aggressive with it, then you don't have to be, and it becomes another weakness again. So yeah.
I like the ball in his hands too. Like, I don't mind that, but like Darko said, I think Darko said in one of his press conferences, we need him to score more. Like this 10-point, 8-point, 12-point games. I'm sorry, we need more
5
scoring.
points.
Yeah, we need more scoring from him. I
Yeah.
mean, he's down to about 18 points per game right now. I know William Liu mentioned that as well, and that's getting tough when he's only scoring that. We know Ingram's got a little injury as well, but his point numbers have gone down as well. So I like to get those guys in positions where they can score the basketball. But not only that, I'm not really worried about Ingram in that sense, but I like to see Scotty be a little bit more selfish, especially when he's got mismatches. You got to go. You were doing it for most of the year. up until after the All-Star break, his numbers have really gone down a little bit. I just wanted to see him back to that. He had a fair amount of regression leading up to the All-Star break. It'd be nice if we can see that again. It's not only that, I think
Absolutely.
they need that if they're going to try to win.
Absolutely. I'm going to just pull something up on screen right now. Uh, Here we go. I just have to add it to here. So this is the efficiency landscape as of the 3rd of April. Let's look through it and let's see what we can kind of glean. So the higher up you are in a positive direction, the better off it is. X-axis, for you math nerds,
That's
is
right.
going
XY
to be,
axis.
yeah, X-axis is going to be your offensive efficiency, and Y-axis is going to be your defensive efficiency. This is actually the first time that I've seen it, that the Raptors are actually in the fun zone, which is that they are both positive on both offense and defense. We've rarely seen that this season. We've seen better at one or better at the other. So this is just tracking the last 10 games. Now, do keep in mind that they're in 10 games, they have played some interesting teams, we'll say, with, like I'll just say, yeah, they've just played some interesting teams. So, so we'll just see what happens with that, but they are trending in the right direction just from the efficiency landscape overall. What's interesting though here is, again, Detroit over the past 10 games has stayed as a net top 5 team in the league. Their offense has gone worse, but their defense has been buoyed overall, which is really, really good. And then the Hornets, of course, have been like top 5 almost in both. So top 6 defense, top 2 on offense. They're a dangerous team, very dangerous team for sure.
Dangerous, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not shocked by the Raptors' efficiency right now, and here's why. And I look at the numbers. That comes from a lot of points inside the three. That's a lot of middies. That's a lot of points around the basket because we're 26 in the 3-point field goal. Like we're 26 in the league. I think we take 11 and a half threes per game. I'm sorry, it's not enough. Boston, who we're playing, they take about 15 to 16 on average, and they're also 8th in 3-point percentage in the league, and we're 23rd.
Absolutely.
That's tough.
Yeah, it is tough. It is tough. Again, you have the week of doom that is coming up. We'll see what happens. I'll make one last point about the Raptors, and then we're gonna just switch over to just pure raw playoff matchups, not just focused on the Raptors. So let's get into it. So yeah, I'll just address Blackhawks comments real quick, and then we'll kind of switch over to East-West stuff and go from there. So Blackhawk says it's ridiculous to have your highest paid player be treated like a substitute teacher because of players not being available. Promote up from the bench and build some consistency. This is partially a Darko issue, but it's also partially a Scotty Barnes issue. Scotty wants to be the point guard. We know this. So there has to be buy-in from your players to get this. So I know that a lot of people want to just blame Darko, and I have not been a Darko fan since Game 7 of his entire tenure.
Game 7.
Really early on.
What was Game 7? I don't remember that.
It was 7 games in, and I think was it after the Mavs game or the second Bucks game?
Yeah.
It was anyways, it was a bad game, and it was like, yeah, I'm just done. And I remember what's his name saying that Dennis Schroeder compared him to David Blatt.
Yes.
In a positive way, but yeah, and I was like, this is not good, and I got a lot of flack for it, and I am still standing on business. Sorry.
Yeah. I'm somewhat the same. I remember the very first preseason game when you had Siakam and Scotty and OG, and Schroeder was on the team at the time, but I saw Pirtle getting more touches than I've ever seen in my life from him. They
Yeah.
run the offense through him. When you have Siakam and Scotty, why were you doing that? Ever since I saw that, I'm just like, no,
Yeah.
I
But
wasn't a big fan of that.
that being said, I just hear too many excuses. Just to go
Mhm.
back to the other point is that
Yeah,
I hear too many excuses. So first, it's like he doesn't have the ball enough. He's the point guard. He does have the ball as much as he wants to have the ball. He controls where the ball is going in each and every single possession at times. Um, and even when he wasn't the point guard, he's routinely since the beginning of the season been top 3 in touches on this team every single night. So this is not a lack of touches. I've heard people suggest, the Darko thing. Yes, I agree. I do not like the offensive system. Yeah. Um, Bi holds onto the ball. Yeah, he does. This is how Bi plays. But yeah, but at the same time, it's excuses, and I think that at some level it is on the player to be aggressive. Like you have to put the team on your back. You have to recognize that you are the highest paid player. If you didn't look at your bank account statements, and take that and put the team on your back and kind of go for it, right? And Blackhawk, the only reason that he's not a shooting guard is because he can't shoot anyways. But like the point is that like you can't just always blame it on people being hurt. There's enough people being hurt, and if you look across the league, there's other teams. I'll give you a good example. I don't hear Jaylen. This excuse is not an excuse for Jaylen Brown. No one said that about Jaylen Brown. Um, like there's a lot of other teams and there's a lot of other players. Maybe they don't play the exact same amount of like quote unquote different roles, but Scotty is the one player that the coach believes in above all, where he's saying he's the future face of the league. And will take ridiculous challenges for that are so ill-advised that the suggestion that he doesn't have a green light in all this is a bit not in it's not congruent with what we're actually seeing. So
I just find Darko puts a target on his back when he says things like he'll be the Finals MVP. You can mark it. Obviously,
right,
that's good to have your faith from your coach. I'm
yeah,
not disputing that. I know if you want to say, you know what, Scotty's one of the up and coming, very good players or great players coming up in this league, I can buy that. I just think when you say face of the league, Finals MVP, you're putting a target on his back now, and then all the rest of the guys are going to be
once
like,
again, yeah,
especially that face of the league comment, and then Wemby when he came in, or Anthony Edwards when he sees that,
right,
you know,
right.
some of it
So
I do like because you're pushing the player. I get that. Like we're trying to talk you into this category, but at the same time, you got to respond when your coach does that to you as well.
well,
It's a bit of a catch-22.
as they say, talk is cheap.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We need action, and that's all I'm saying, right? So, the other problem with having him as the point guard, and frankly, you have a backup point guard, so use that instead. I mean, it's not perfect, but use that because the last game against, it wasn't against the last game that they came back and won. I'm losing track of this past week because it was a rough week. It was
Phoenix or Detroit?
The Phoenix game because they did not win against Detroit.
They beat Detroit at home, but maybe that was way before that.
Yeah, no, that was way before.
Yeah.
This is in the past week, so it was actually one of the games. Here, I'll pull up the standing, but it was one of the games that they lost, but they came back. It was kind of a fake comeback, but the only reason that you kind of came back was it was because they had switched it over to Jamal Sheck. I would say, to have your point, fine. Have him be. This is your position. If Darko is some developmental guru, we should not be having Scotty play, here, there, and everywhere, because Darko himself said that if you're learning all these different types of nuances or whatever, you're still going to be struggling time and time again in terms of your ability to develop some sort of level of consistency. I think so. That's kind of where I kind of land with that, is that at the end of the day, yes, there are some excuses that are available and some of them are valid, but we also need more from your highest paid player, and that there's nothing wrong with asking for more and frankly expecting more, because if it shows to me like If I didn't believe in Scotty Barnes, I wouldn't care. Flat out. I'd say whatever he does, I just don't care.
Well, he said I've said this repeatedly. I think he's had his best year of his career. Part
Yep.
of that is the team's record. They're going to be in the playoffs. That was my minimum goal for this team this year. Make the play in, for pity's sake. They're going to do that regardless. They have been top 5 for a good chunk of the year. And
Yeah.
the East is pretty close. I do understand that, but there are some games though you have to win. Like you had to beat Sacramento with all those guys out and at home. Like you had to win that. I'm sorry. That's where I
Yeah.
want to see more leadership. The Pelicans game in New Orleans. I get it. They're playing a little bit better, but when Shed went down, there was no leadership that came to him. And that's why I kind of question about maybe the
Yeah.
makeup of this team. Maybe you need more personalities who are going to stand up for, your teammates. And I'm not really putting that on Scotty or Ingram per se. I am a bit, but they also get to learn that too. It's like, no, we're not going to have that happen.
And
Kyle Lowry would never have that happen, or DeMar DeRozan. No way.
they've tried to have those personalities, but the problem is that those personalities typically aren't as skilled, and so that's where you're getting a Jamal Shed, right?
Yeah.
Or whoever it is, right? And the challenge is that those guys are usually not your leaders. So you either need to, again, we need more talent. I don't care what anyone says. We need more talent at a lot of different positions.
Absolutely. Like last year, I really felt pretty strongly in the beginning, like, man, we kind of need a big. And then once we went through the draft process, I was like, go get the best player. And now this year, I'm not even thinking about bigs. I'm like, just get me a guy who can just play and create offense, get his own shot. I don't care if it's down at 18, but I wouldn't mind it at 14 because there could be more options.
Sure.
I know I'm talking to both sides of my mouth. Like short term, I obviously want this team to win. But if I'm looking long term at the current product that we have on the floor, when we're maxed out with cap space, I'm like, I can't see this team contending next year. I'm sorry, not with Indiana coming back. Charlotte's probably going to be better next year. Yeah. Atlanta, probably. Yep. So I'm looking at, I'm like, where are we going with
Atlanta's going to have more than likely they will have a top 4 pick to add to this.
Yeah, like someone messaged me today, said, "Well, we're the 3rd youngest team in the league if you take Temple off the roster." I'm like, okay, I get that, but
I guess.
Unless you're going to have one of these blue chip prospects jump to a near all-star level, I don't know if I see it. I just don't. Right. That's why we need more talent.
Right. So moving away from that and looking at the standings, and I'm just going to put that on the screen right now. Because Blackhawk, we don't need to talk about a guy who's like the 12th man on like this bench in Jameson battle. I'm sorry, we can do better than this. This is the standings right now. So let's go out west. I'm going to scroll down because sometimes I find it's easier just to look at the standings from this aspect rather than looking at the weird tree. And what we're seeing is, amazingly, San Antonio is not letting that go. They are still on an 11-game winning streak. They are chasing the OKC Thunder. I do not think that they will catch them because it's just you're running out of games. But if the season started over, I think that San Antonio would be the best team in the West for sure. The next tier down is all of these teams right here, 3 through 6. The challenge that we have, or even 3 through 5, which will all be in flux. Luka just went out with a grade 2 hamstring sprain, if I'm not mistaken. So that's going to have him out for quite some time. And you're probably not going to see him until at least the second round, if at all. Your thoughts on that before we continue down this tree?
Well, it's too bad what happened to Luka. Luka's leading the league in scoring. I think he's averaging 33 a game, something like that. That's too bad. And look, Luka's a baller. He wants to play, I think, in most every game. I think he's done a good job at getting his body right in LA. Like he had to shed some weight. But I wonder with the Lakers now what that's gonna look like for them. You're asking a lot of LeBron at 41 years old. or 40 years old, whatever LeBron is now, to take on that load and
Yeah.
try to propel the Lakers, because the playoff starts today. They're playing Minnesota. I
As
don't
of
like that for the
today,
Lakers.
but as you see with the standings, they could be playing Houston now. I would assume that they would rather play Houston. I'm guessing, but I can't say
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, I think if I'm the Lakers, I'd rather play Houston, but Houston also offers problems to the Lakers as well. I mean, that's a
Yeah,
big lineup when they really want it. Like you can play Thompson, you can play Eason, Durant, Finney Smith. I'm trying to think who there's. Clint Capella. Houston has enough to take down the Lakers as well. But I think if you're the Lakers, if you have a choice, you play Houston.
yeah. Um, yeah, Blackhawk commented on Luka's off-court issues. I mean, it's possible, but that doesn't cause a hamstring injury. Like he legitimately got injured. But
Yeah,
it
so
is
I'm
tough.
referring just to that injury. Yeah, I don't know what
Yeah,
else is.
yeah.
I know he had a child that was born or something like that, but I don't
There's
know anything else.
Divorce potential
Ah,
thing. So
which could weigh on him, absolutely.
it can, but I think if anything, it's tough that he got injured because now
Yeah,
he doesn't have his sanctuary in a sense. So
that is true.
that is very tough. The other thing is to go down the line, I would say Denver. I don't think that they care who they face. I think ideally they would love to face the Lakers if the Lakers could dip down far enough. Just because it's just easier to face a weakened team. But I think as long as they're not facing Minnesota, I think that they're happy. Minnesota has kind of been, they've kind of tapered back down to earth from where they were about a month ago, I would say. But overall, like Minnesota is still a very, very dangerous team. I like Io DeSumo had like a crazy triple double the other day as well. Yeah, it's there's definitely some interesting stuff there. Who's making out the plan? And hold on one second. I just want to address this. Can I truly trust their injury report? Yes, you can. Luka is actually injured. I don't think he's lying about it. It's a grade 2 hamstring, and so I'm not going to get into that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think being top 3 in the West, like you don't want to throw that away. You want to hope you keep that position because now that spot is in danger of losing it to Denver, and then you got to go, 4 or 5.
This isn't the time to play games, and also when you're reporting that he's not going to be healthy for a while, and then you're trying to play conspiracy theory with, maybe it's the divorce stuff. Like that's going down a road that I don't entertain that level of speculation on people's lives. And also I think it's a little bit too speculative. I think a lot of the times it's a YC wig and simply put, I think just to nip this in the bud, there's just no incentive structure there for Luka to do that. It makes not a lot of sense. So
right, what Blackhawk is saying though, like with the whole thing with Embiid, because he tweeted out, I guess I'm sitting out tonight. He didn't even know that kind of thing, which means that
that's a separate issue. But yes,
it's a separate issue. But it is like this is apples and oranges, but to the point, like Philly should not be having Embiid sit out this time of the year with like 6 or 7 games left when you actually you got the 6th seed right now over us. And now that puts us, in the hot seat to try to get in the top 6. You're playing with fire. You're just sitting Embiid. If you're Philadelphia, like I get Toronto, who's like half a game back. Why am I sitting Embiid?
Yeah, we're actually at the same amount, so we're not even half a game back. It's just they have the tiebreaker. It's dangerous type of stuff for them to play. I understand that they're touch and go and they're really worried about him because he's basically played like half the game. So I get it. Like they are really, really worried about Embiid. With the Giannis situation, totally get it. I'm not saying I get it from the I mean, I can understand from the organization standpoint to an extent. However, they also should have made that decision to just trade him and move on with it rather than dragging it out and then trying to troll people. But like from that standpoint, I think Blackhawk, you're making a really good point. But just from the Luka standpoint, as you said, Coach, apples and oranges, completely different scenarios, and completely different incentives. So yeah, but yeah, I think as we continue on. So we're done, I think, with the West, unless you want to talk about who's making it out of the play-in, which I don't think Golden State will. Clippers are dangerous, and I think that the Clippers could rise into that because I say it's Clippers versus Portland.
Yep.
The Clippers could win that.
I think the Clippers and Phoenix are coming out. I don't trust Portland, not yet.
Yeah,
I think
Portland's a bit young.
If they run into Kawhi Leonard and Matherin and Garland, by the way, that trade's actually worked out fairly well for them. Garland, if he looks like what he did in Cleveland, that's a steal. Matherin is finally getting an opportunity. The Clippers got to probably get a couple of bigs, and then they're right there.
Yeah. Now, I think Phoenix probably holds on to that 7 spot. And so that's what I would say there. But yeah, again, I don't trust Portland, and then they're having injury issues right now. But overall, I think that they're a fun team to watch, especially with their big situation with Klingon and whatnot. So yeah, as we kind of continue on, we've kind of talked this one to death, but yeah, Detroit running away with it. Here's where what's interesting is like, I think that the Knicks might still try to go for it. Now, if the Raptors are lucky, maybe they rest half their guys the next time we play them. We'll see. But if it's within a game, they might still be going for it. So just, or if they need that game over Cleveland. So things aren't quite settled yet. But we face Boston next. And I don't know if I can confidently say that the Raptors are going to hold on to the 7th seed. I know someone said that they can catch Atlanta. I believe if Atlanta gets 1 or 2 more wins in the next 5, it's mathematically impossible. And that's assuming that the Raptors win all of their games.
Yeah, that Sacramento loss was devastating to their chances to finish in the top 6. Now it's gone downhill a bit more, and you want to play Charlotte in that first game? I don't. Look at it shows the record here in the last 10. They're 8-2. They have the 4th best record, tied with Detroit, Boston, and Atlanta.
Yep.
They're like the greatest number 8 seed you've ever seen in your life.
Yes.
Which is hilarious.
Yes.
Yeah, the Sacramento loss, man, that broke the camel's back for me. I'm just like, look, you're not serious if you're losing to Precious Achua. If you're letting him grab 17 rebounds, you're not serious.
That goes back to my point before, right? But sorry, continue.
No, I was just like, you're losing to, like, DeMar always plays well against us, but they lost 4 starters. 4. You didn't have Sabonis. You didn't have Murray. You didn't have Russ. You didn't have Levine. And I know we didn't have Ingram or Quickly, but come on, we were a top 6 team in the East. You still had Scotty. You still had RJ. Did Ingram play in that game?
Did Ingram play in
we had Pirtle, I know, play.
Sacramento game? No, we did not. He did not.
He did not play. Okay.
Yeah.
And I know we didn't have Quickly, but I still think you should have had enough to beat those guys by 10 or 15 points.
I mean, Sabonis didn't play on the other side.
No, but they didn't have Levine or Keegan Murray or Russ.
Sabonis or Keegan or thing. Yeah. So people were trying to, because I did hear that. It's like, oh, well, we were missing some. It's like, well, they were missing. We just named like 3 guys that would factor into their rotation normally, if they were seriously like in it. Philly has an interesting set of games down the stretch. So they just won against the Timberwolves. They face the Pistons next. So you said that Embiid's out for this game.
I don't know. That was just one of the other games that he found out.
One of the other games.
Against the Pistons, I'm not sure.
I'm just checking right now the injury report, but I'm going to presume that down the stretch, as long as it's not a back-to-back like how this is going to be a back-to-back that I'm looking
Oh,
at
they get
here,
the
which is going to be
Spurs
the
too.
Rockets. Yeah, so they have the Spurs, they have the Rockets, and they have the Pacers. My assumption is that that last game against the Bucks, and Embiid's not going to be playing. Um, he is listed as out right now. Um, so then the next real question is, does he play against the Spurs? And I'm gonna guess yes, because the next game after that is on a Thursday. So I will comfortably say that that Philly will get their last two games. They'll get a game against the Pacers. I see two wins against for Philly. Right? We're tied. I see two wins for Philly that are like you can pencil that in as a win. I don't know if I see two penciled in wins for the Raptors. And then so if Philly can say they win against either the Pistons today or they win against the Rockets, that probably seals the sixth seed. I don't know if you agree or not.
Uh, yeah, no, I think so because I'm guessing. Well, Cade's going to be out. Duran is a game time decision with it. They don't have Duran play. Philly's winning that game for sure.
Yeah,
Embiid
I
is
think
out
they
tonight.
also they have the first seed basically locked up.
They do, yes.
So they can kind of, and I don't think that they can catch. I don't think that they're catching the Thunder or the Spurs. So at that point, you're kind of coasting.
Yes, but unless the Raptors pull off a miracle tomorrow and beat the Boston Celtics, I'm
Mm.
guessing, is this in Boston? I'm guessing it must be.
The Raptors game.
Yes, it's in Boston. Yeah,
Okay.
it's a
Yeah.
wrap. That's a wrap.
Yeah. Sorry. I mean, I think we're gonna lose to the Knicks no matter what. The Miami thing might be your chance because the Miami's not been. They've been up and down this year, but like I
Yeah.
don't know if I see them going back to back winning against Miami. So you might split that. That's one way that you're. But even with that, Philly, you get two. Philly gets two. That doesn't help you. You're
No.
still seventh.
Yeah. And if you're the Raptors, man, you have to fight to get in that 6 seed because you don't want to play Charlotte. That's the last team you want to play against. And then you get a battle with one of Orlando or Miami. It's probably going to be Orlando. I know you beat them by 50 in Toronto, but you know what? We also lost to them bad in Orlando too.
Yeah, and
Who
if those
knows if
losses
Franz is back?
happen, it may not be Orlando. You might be facing Charlotte first, and then again, like you said, you're it's one of these Florida teams.
Yeah.
Now Orlando has Franz back. It's a good timing for him. We'll see. It might be too little, too
Oh, he
late,
is
but
back, is he?
he is officially back. He was called up from the G League. He just hasn't played yet. So that might change their fortunes. We'll see. They just stopped the bleeding with one win recently.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, so I mean, they just beat the Dallas Mavericks. They do play the Pelicans. So the point is that this is still all in flux. Like these other teams, especially the Hornets, could catch you. Um, so this is going to be a tough week, but hang in there, people. But even if it is a tough week, I think that there is a way out. Um,
Yeah. To
so yeah.
beat Boston, though, their only chance, because Boston just fires up so many threes, you would need quickly, and he's not going to be there. Like he'd be your only chance, I think, because you're going to have other areas to score in instead of just the mid range and in the paint.
Yeah, and even then, it's like, can you keep up with Boston? I mean, if you really catch heat, fine, but that's not a bankable
No, it's not.
solution. Just to look at Orlando. So Orlando has also the Bulls down the stretch. And again, they'll have the Celtics as the very last game. They probably get that because the Celtics will probably rest their last game. So again, Orlando's not out of it yet as well, but Orlando will have to get this next game tomorrow against the Pelicans. And so we'll see. Beyond that, is there anything that you want to talk about that we haven't talked about before?
No, I think it's about it.
Yeah, if Blackhawk says if we beat the Celtics or the Knicks, I'll roll over backwards.
I might too.
Yeah, it would be nice, but I think I wouldn't bank on it. I think that they have our number. I think that they know how to scout our star, and I think that we are a scoutable team, unfortunately. So yeah, but that's okay. Let's switch quickly over to the overall draft. Do some quick hitting stuff. Cole Pete, what are your thoughts on Cole Pete? I have one in the chamber that I haven't fired off yet. So I'm just wondering for those of you who like bigs. I know Blackhawk likes he wants a center. What is your thought? Although I don't think he's a center, he's more of a power forward. But what are your thoughts on Cole Pete?
I think he's a great athlete.
Yes.
I think he's a phenomenal athlete. He does a little bit of everything well. I mean, he passes pretty well. I know he's averaging about almost 3 assists a game, almost 6 rebounds, 14 points. Doesn't shoot free throws well. Doesn't shoot the three well. He fits in perfect with us. But that's my problem. I like him. I think he'd be a great fit for some teams. I worry that he become into our team because he just did a lot of the things that we kind of have that we don't need right now. But I could see like a team that's really wanting more athleticism, more strength. He'd be a good fit there. I already got Scotty and CMB. I don't need him too.
Say Bennett Sturts is there, and okay, actually, you kind of just answered my question, but I'll still ask a variation of this. Say Bennett Sturts is there, and say Christian Anderson hasn't risen up. Who would you be interested in taking?
Of the two?
Yeah.
Anderson. I think there's more upside there. Sturts is fine. Sturts can play, but I'm taking transferable skills to the NBA. I'm probably rolling with Anderson.
Now, I'll say this, Blackhawk. Sturts and Anderson are nice, but if you're out of the play-in, you got to start thinking bigger like LeBaron Fillon. Because he would be one hell of a player on this team. And I think he's definitely a tier above. As much as I like Anderson, I think he would be a tier above Anderson.
Yeah, I'd be rolling with Cameron Carr, though, over those guys. I'm not saying that I so much want
over all
him,
three?
In that scenario, I probably would roll with him over all three of them, yeah.
So over Philon?
No, sorry, not Philon. Not Philon.
Okay.
Just Sturts, Anderson, and Koa.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I've done some preliminary stuff on Carr, and to me, he looks like a more refined and slightly more athletic Jacoby.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
Yeah, and if you believe in Jacoby, you don't want the redundancy. Then I understand. Okay, let's just try to develop Jacoby then, because he's going to be in year 3 next year. But of the three, if I had my choice, I would take Carr over those guys. I like the shooting.
Yeah. Would you take Yaxel out of the playoffs? This is because Blackhawk is asking. I don't. I personally wouldn't, because I think that there's enough high level guards that might be there.
I've been thinking about that last year because I liked him last year too, because he almost went in the draft and he pulled out and now he's back in.
I go for Hans instead. I haven't looked.
Yeah. I might actually go for Yaxel over Koa at least, because I know that he's a better shooter.
Right? I agree.
I know he reminds me a little bit of a Sean Marion type. Like, he does a little bit of everything well, but it's always good to be the shooting will be the difference for me. If Koa shot the ball better, I'm open to it. But it doesn't look like that he is. But with Yaxel, mind you, Yaxel's a bit older too. Yaxel is a Raptor-y type player.
Would you rather have Hans Steinbach though?
For me, I probably would, because he does things that we really don't have too much of. One, he also can stretch the floor.
He protects the rim decently too.
He rebounds. That's what I'm looking at.
He rebounds, yeah.
I don't have the numbers in front of me for the Raptors, what they are doing in rebounding, but it's not good when Pirtle's getting you 7.5, 8 rebounds a game.
Yeah, this kid gets 12.
that worries me. Yeah, and Hans as well. He shoots mid-30s, I think, from three. At least he's going to be a threat to shoot from there.
34,
Yeah, if
6'11".
if I'm building around Scotty, which they are, that's a fit.
Yeah,
You know, I
he might be a better version of what you thought you were getting with Kyle Filipowski with defense.
yeah, I know Tyler and those guys at No Ceiling. They worry about his defense, and I get that too.
Yeah,
I don't think it's going to be elite or anything, but I'll
no,
give the Raptors credit on this. They're like top 10 in defense. That's pretty good. That's a big jump from 25th, which they were last year for most of the year until the last third of the year when they went to 16th. So, and Scotty's been a big part of that. For me, it's the offense. If you're gonna bring in the big, I think they got to be able to contribute offensively because I'm going to say something I don't think is going to be too revealing. Scotty and Pirtle are a terrible fit.
yeah.
Offensively, they're terrible. Yak takes up too much space in the paint. He can't stretch the floor. Scotty's shooting under 30% from three. Get a big who's going to be able to give you some of that. And if I can get a big who can also rebound too, I think there's something you can work with there. And let's just say they keep Pirtle. Let's just say they do, but they lose Mamu to free agency. I don't think that's going to happen. Let's just say they do.
Good. It could happen.
I'm bringing Hans and CMB off the bench. They're opposites. That can work.
Well, that's the other thing too is that like if you want a big per se, in the draft that is, you're a guy like a Hans could fit around CMB as well, and you can kind of like bring him along as well. So, and he does things that Mamu doesn't. Now, I hear Blackhawk's point about he needs 20 pounds. He's 20 years old. I think he'll fit into his NBA body. He's bigger than the other two guys by far, and so instead of doing this, well, the guy's 6'9", and maybe he can kind of get there, and maybe this, and maybe that, and you're like trying to like rejigger someone who's just not physically there from a size perspective. He's there from a size perspective, and then him gaining weight is not that bad. It's a lot easier rather than having that someone who's on a smaller frame and having them gain weight, and then frankly you're risking with a smaller guy who's going to gain weight, you're risking injury actually. In some cases, if it's not done in the right way or whatever. So,
well, I think, and I just see Blackhawks' next point there about Jakob's Pirtle's injuries. Look, you get that contract. That contract's almost untradeable. So you're probably going to have Pirtle around, but you're going to need. I'm not saying go get a big in this draft, but you're going to need a big eventually, if it's through trade or free agency. You just said availability is everything, and if
I think there's bigs available for the second round too. But yeah, sorry, continue.
There are, but our picks are way in the back, and I'm just like,
we had two. We had two picks. We traded away one.
But we have two though, because one's protected, right? Or no, sorry, it's just one. My bad.
We traded one away. Yeah.
We traded one away, and now we still have technically the other one that had protections on it.
Yeah.
So I just don't know. It's a good question because I don't mind Hans. I don't mind the game. I could see actually where it could fit, and I could see him being just a double machine. But the Raptors typically don't go for that archetype of what he offers. I don't see it.
Yeah. The other thing that I'm afraid of is that if you get the wrong guy and then he starts eating away at CMB's minutes, well, what was the point of that?
Good point. And I think if you had the Raptors front office in the room and you said, get a choice, Koa or Steinbach, what do you think they're going to do?
Steinbach, probably. It's just the easier, safer pick.
No, I think if you had them in and they had to choose between one of the two, I think they might choose. They might be like, you know what? We like Koa because we think defensively he has more to offer. And he's a better athlete. And I'm like, okay, but that's a wonky fit with him and Scotty and CMB. Steinbach, it's a little bit of a seamless fit. Better rebounder, better shooter.
Yeah. The other thing is that and this is why I think that they will go for a point guard, is that it makes sense. You have a guy in Shed that is going to be a free agency, entering free agency after this upcoming year.
Yep.
You need to either decide whether or not you're going to pay him or not. And if you're not going to pay him, you need someone that's better. Now, I think that they can upgrade that, and I think that they ideally would benefit greatly from having a point guard that could also play off ball here and there, but one that could also it would help out Scotty a lot. Having a proper point guard who can put him into places, or he could put that person into places, and also it would help your entire development. Um, so that's where I land.
Yeah, no, 100%. And one of the reasons why I say long term, I think we need a higher pick, because I saw what happened with Dallas last year, where they lost in the play and they end up with the number one pick. And I saw it the year before that with Atlanta, and they got the number one pick as well. You know how kind of tempting that is when you're in the middle of the pack of any conference. You're not a contender, but you're in the middle, and you have that option to possibly get into the top three of a draft. That could really help change your fortunes. Like, I don't like tanking. I really do. I'm not so much saying I want them to tank, but if I look long term from the current sample size that we have of this team, I don't know. I don't know where we're going to be going next year in the East as we stay currently constructed. I know they'll make a few moves here and there, but I've seen in the past where they never, not until the last moment, and then you got nothing for your guys.
And even if you bump up, but you don't bump that far up. So say you're out of the playoffs, and you end up, I'm looking right here. Say you're in the 13th or 14th spot, so you don't jump into the top.
Yeah,
I'm fine with that, because I still think with this draft, there's like a cliff at around the 15th spot that kind of tapers down, and it's going to be harder to get guys of that talent who can punch up to, you'll get really good role players, but the guys who can really punch up, in my opinion, to be beyond a starter level are in that range up to 14. And also it's easier to trade up from there. In terms of Shed, just really quickly, is because Blackhawk brought that up. I'm not saying that you don't keep Shed. I'm just saying don't overpay to keep Shed. But either way, I'd still want a better guard than Shed. The fact that your pitch on Shed is keep him as a third string guard, I'm not prioritizing Shed over picking someone in this draft. I want someone who can punch up to potentially take over for Quickly and make Quickly more expendable down the road, which would free things up from a affordability standpoint. But yeah. Any final thoughts, Coach?
No, 100%. Look, Shed has a true shooting percentage of like 49.493 and a field goal percentage of 37%. 37% from your backup point guard for field goal percentage is rotten. That's not good at all. Mm-hmm. You don't want that from your backup point guard. There's got to be some efficiency there. I know he brings effort. I know he can defend. But eventually, though, you got to try to move up the ladder in the Eastern Conference by getting more talent. And I think that's kind of what we're saying. I'm not saying go tank tomorrow and go lose every game. I'm saying, you know what? Basically, if this does not work out, where you fall back into the play-in and maybe you don't have the success that you want to, and you come out with the 13th or 14th pick, or at least a chance to move up into the top 3 or 4 like Dallas and Atlanta has, you know what? We're not contending this year. I can tell you that much. When we lose to Sacramento, what would be the harm? Like, it'd be a blessing in disguise is what it would be. But 13th or 14th, all these guys that we're talking about, in my opinion, will be there. Yaxel would be there, probably. Hans probably would be there. A couple of the guys that you've mentioned earlier, they would be there. You would have more options, basically, at 13 and 14 versus 19, 20, 21. And always, and we've kind of talked this about before, top 10 talents typically will fall out of the top 10. You might be able to grab one, the Nate Ottman, which we discussed earlier. If he falls out and he's there at 14,
hey, if he's the best thing that's there, and there's a drop off beyond that, I mean, I think it's worth it. If you're looking for more of a power forward, I'd lean against power forwards just because I'm afraid of someone that's. I mean, you just drafted a guy who realistically will play power forward, so that's why I'm leaning against these power forward types.
Yeah, same here.
I think You could argue that maybe Hans could play center in the NBA, so that would be the question.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't make sense drafting a guy and then going and getting someone else. My question is, I'd start looking at guys like Kareem or Karim Lopez
Yeah.
and kind of look at that. A worst case scenario, fine, you can go get Sturts, or fine, you can go get a guy like Christian Anderson and whatnot. But I would first see what talent is there, and if you can trade up to those higher spots. Can you get into the mix for a LeBaron? I don't. I know that there are some concerns. I brought them up, but are you interested in a Mikhail Brown Jr. who might fall?
Oh gosh, absolutely. I love Mikael Brown Jr. I think there's a ton of talent there, big guard. I know there's back issues. I get that.
Yeah.
But boy, if he falls, why not take a chance on him? Because it might be gold.
Now, Blackhawk brings up OKC for their 19th pick. They're not the only one that has 2 picks in this draft. There's also the Hornets, who also have picks in this draft. The challenge is always going to be what are you giving up, and how are you getting there? I would not trade our pick for another pick unless you're jumping significantly. So that's the first thing I would say. I know some people have suggested, like, I don't know, someone said BI in our pick for like moving up to the top 8. To Chicago or something like that, or I can't remember what. I think it was Chicago. I want to say, or it was the Bucks to get the 10 pick. I don't know if that's worth it, and I don't know if there's a clean kind of bill of health, so to speak, to get there. But I think that there are teams. The Hornets are interesting, but I don't know. Pick for pick trades are tough, Blackhawk. You usually have to trade, 2 picks to get to move up, or a future protected or something. I think one could argue that it would be worth it to do a future pick trade to move and get a second pick from this year's draft. Again, you're getting guys that are going to be under contract for 4 years and do that. I agree, Blackhawk. You got to chase talent, but no one's going to say we end up in the 15th pick. You're not going to be able to get a top 8 pick with that. Now, if it's a cuff or something like that, of course I would trade, our pick and another future pick to move up. Maybe like New Orleans style. It's a risk. It's a risk, but
some GM's getting fired if they trade that pick that could have been a cuff. Like that's a guy him and Burries. I'm sorry, those are like Burries. I think is the Stephen Castle of this draft. I think he's that good. Well, he could go to an NBA team. He's going to be big time. Same with Darius Acuff too. If there was some way we could get into the draft and get those guys, and Darius Acuff is like your starting point guard moving forward, or even Braden Burries. I know he's a bit of an off guard, but if I could bring him in, play point guard for me, I don't care. Go for it.
Yeah. Point is that there's ways to really upgrade this regardless, but I would be trying to acquire a second pick before, and I don't know if I'd be going quote unquote all in for like the 15th pick using the 18th pick. Like I said, it has to be a significant jump up. And while it never hurts to try, there's also getting hung up on. But yeah, like going and trading 3 picks to move up into to number 9 is not it. If you're going all in though, Blackhawk, you'd have to be talking about, on this draft, you'd be talking about giving up Scotty. So, which I would presume you're not into. But yeah, I think, what would make more sense is, again, like some sort of imagination where, again, RJ is an expiring salary, but he's a good player for someone, and then you're taking on a bad contract like a Patrick Williams and other filler to kind of get there. And that's probably a better move to make than going and burning a pick on, say, Miles Turner for RJ Barrett.
Yeah, no, it's always good when you have 2 picks in a draft, because then you can, okay, now we can put these 2 picks up. Let's trade into the top 10 or top 5, top 7, whatever.
Exactly.
To try to get there. But see, when you get one and then you get one down like 55, it's a bit tougher. That's why Memphis, when Memphis made all those deals, they have so many draft picks coming up now. I loved it for them because they realized we're not good enough. We're
Yeah.
not. And now they might come out with Cedric Howard in last year's draft. Now they might come out with a Darius Acuff or a Braden Burries or a Caleb Wilson. You're like, man, you're accelerating things when you're doing that. And I think they have someone else's pick as well if it translates to them.
Yeah, I mean OKC for example, yeah, they like to stockpile picks, but if people have been
Orlando's
paying attention,
pick. Sorry, yeah.
yeah, yeah, OKC's been trading their picks away recently.
Yep.
Because they only have a certain amount. Yeah, they gave 2 picks up to get Jared McCain because you only have a certain amount of roster spots, so they're actually running out of roster spots at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So they're just keep punting these picks back into the future. So, all in for me is give up the second pick, which is not going to be worthwhile, just so you know, because it's in the 50s. And a future first for a first round. Yeah, I know if you're talking about the Rob Dillingham original trade, they traded 2 first rounders essentially. So it was basically a pick swap with a future first rounder to get Rob Dillingham. It could work. I'm not necessarily entirely against that, but that's more than I'm giving up a second that is not really a really valuable second because it's like in the 50s or the mid 40s or whatever. That's not really selling people. So, but anyways, that's all. I think that's a full slate here. I think you would agree, Coach.
I do.
Any final thoughts before we get out of here? Go Raptors, go! I guess. Or
Oh, of course. I know I joke sometimes online and people get after me and stuff like that. I think it just depends on short term. Yes, you want to get into the top 6. I don't think any GM would want to not do that. And then when you look long term and you're thinking, gee, wait, this year was supposed to be a prove it year. That's what I heard. Prove that we can do something with this group. They've gotten into the play-in. That's the minimal goal. They could potentially end up with a top 6. Other than that, we've been pretty bad against top 3 or 4 teams in the league. Like, it's really bad record. Like, those are the teams that you eventually have to start beating to see what exactly you have. And it's been way below 500. Way below 500. I'm just not
saying. I would not rely on internal growth, and I don't think that they're going to. But I would not rely on internal growth.
You kind of wonder if you've maxed out with what you have. Like, I'm not trying to put a ceiling on this, but is Scotty what Scotty is right now?
He is.
I hope offensively I'm wrong on that, but I might be more correct. Defensively, I think he's very good. He might be deep. He's going to be in the running for that award. I think so. But offensively, it's a struggle to get average 19 for your franchise guy. That's tough.
I know that the argument is that with better spacing and all that, he would be significantly better.
I've heard
but
that.
If a guy is that good offensively, you don't need the perfect conditions to perform. You perform regardless. And so defensively, I think Scotty is at the peak of his powers. He's doing really good. Offensively, I think it's always going to be you're going to have spurts where it's good. I mean, you still have people talking about 2 years ago when he was shooting 40%. And it's like, yeah, because he was partially off ball and he was partially as an option that defenses were keying in on, he was lower down in the pecking order. But to have that, then you're going to have to be taking the ball out of his hands. And his style is going to change. Now, could he be optimizing that role? Yes, but that's very different than what other people are outlining. And he's not the type of player that you can have your cake and eat it too, quote unquote. Such a weird saying. But yeah, so that's where I would say is from an offensive standpoint, I do think that he will get better. I know I just said he is what he is. He'll get better, but I think I don't suddenly see him developing a way more consistent jumper that is, at this point, people are asking, can he give me 32% for a year? Like, that's where we're at as a top 2 option.
But this is why I go back to him and Pirtle together. Today's NBA, you can't have 2 guys who can't shoot the three with your two bigs. You cannot have that. If you're committed to Scotty, somehow you got to find a new center. Unless you're trading Scotty for you're either looking to rebuild or you have a shot at getting a huge upgrade. I don't see how the Scotty Pirtle thing works. I just don't.
Other thing is, how do you get CMB consistently on the floor? Because if you view him as one of your top 5 guys talent-wise, how is he also getting on the floor with Scotty? Is that creating another Pirtle-style situation?
Except he's smaller.
He's smaller. Front. He's more tenacious, though.
Oh, 100%. Oh, he's more tenacious, better defender. Like, you could actually put him out on the perimeter.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you still answer the question that has to be answered about that center next to him, because it's not Pirtle. Even Siakam was like, I like Pirtle, but I don't know if he's a great fit next to me. I think Siakam kind of hinted that one time. Like,
he did. He basically said he's like, I didn't ask for Pirtle.
Yeah. And he went and played Miles Turner and ended up in the NBA Finals. Was 1 game away from winning.
Yep. Yeah. So, CMB will shoot every so often, Blackhawk, but at the same time, there needs to be. It can't just be an every so often thing. I'm not saying that CMB, but it can't. The onus can't just be on CMB. Is my point, right? You have a franchise player. It's hard to build around him.
He's a rookie
with the skill set that he has.
He's a rookie that he didn't have the expectations that Scotty had coming in.
No,
I never
which is to his benefit, which is good. I think that's a good thing.
Like he helps his team. I'm not saying that he doesn't, but again, I just worry when we play bigger teams, a lot of the Knicks. You got Scotty and CMB inside, and you're going up against Cat and Mitch. It's going to get really tough.
Yeah. So I mean, if I would still lean, I still lean towards. Is a long-standing debate that we've always had, but I still lean towards getting a point guard. You can fix the center situation in other ways, I would say, and kind of go from there, because I think that there's more centers available. Or more ways to try to get a center, even if it's not the perfect fit. You might be able to go get, I don't know, Najee Marshall and, Gafford somehow with an RJ deal somehow. I don't know the numbers on it, but I just tossed that out there. I mean, it's actually probably close, to be honest. And maybe like a future or, 2 future seconds or I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's something that might be interesting to like a Dallas Mavericks who's trying to come down in salary. So, anyways, it's been fun, Coach, always. And thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Like, comment, and subscribe, of course. We really do appreciate it all. And everyone take care and enjoy Easter. Peace.